I
I
feel
want a
that.
good, solid recording.
All right, we've started recording. It is all you for the beginning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I'm Azriel Lawless, and I am a writer out on the new, exciting serial reading platform called Kindle Vella. And here on Hella Vella, we like to talk about all things to do with publishing on this platform and reading on this platform. And today, here on Hella Vella, we have got Jamie Dalton, who is an incredible Vella author, and she is also a master marketing maven. And we all need to learn from her, and we're going to learn about TikTok and how to be, grow our reader communities. So I'm very excited to bring this to Hella Vella, and I hope you guys enjoy this because it's a lot of good info. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And thank you to a couple of my buddies that are here with me as well. Carrie's someone that I've worked with for quite a while now. And DC, she also has several amazing podcasts, and she is my Thursday night buddy. So some of you guys that are currently live streaming with us on TikTok, you may recognize her because tonight, 9:30 p.m., every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m., we come and we chat books and publishing and what we're reading and just life in general. So you're welcome to come join us when we do that. But today we're going to focus on TikTok for authors and how to do it to where you're not coming across like an MLM scamming marketer, because it's really hard sometimes when you feel like you're supposed to be doing social media for your business and growing your business. It can feel like you're supposed to be putting out all these ads, and really social media for authors is actually about building your community and kind of helping you connect in a more one-on-one type way with your actual full audience. So authors technically have a couple superpowers that most people don't have, and most authors don't even realize they have it. And one of those is that as you get better at writing, and a lot of new authors don't fully grasp it yet, but tropes. You understand tropes. You at least know how to make them work in a book, and you're able to identify them in a book. And really, when it comes to social media and creating social media content, figuring out what the tropes are for your writing in general, and using the tropes of behaviors of your audience and people you want to connect with helps you be able to build that community and be able to reach people without it being spammy, because you don't want all of your posts to just be buy my book. That is how you start scaring people off. So for example, a lot of us who are watching this, we're authors, and authors have specific behaviors. We all have things that we kind of joke about. And so when you're trying to connect with other authors, a lot of times you talk about burnout, you talk about imposter syndrome, you talk about trying to work on a project and the words are just not coming out. You talk about the stress of deadlines. Like, there's a whole bunch of things, behaviors. I mean, there's some authors, like I am a mood writer. That doesn't mean I wait to write when I'm in the mood. I would never finish a book if I did that. But I have to set the mood for whatever I'm writing. So I turn on music that's right for the scene that I'm doing, or I'll do candles, or I'll do specific types of areas. I'll do a lot of that. And I found that if I do that, it helps me write better. And you can use those kinds of tropes to connect with other authors. But then on the other hand, when you're talking about readers, especially if you spend any time on TikTok, you will notice there's a lot of running jokes about the tropes of readers buying way too many books, your never-ending TBR list, your the tropes that they like. They do a lot of jokes about that kind of thing. So if you are willing to take some time to figure out what your target audience's tropes are, and you're willing to twist those into creating your social media content, it lets you create something that's unique but marketable. And I'll go a little bit more in depth with some examples on some really good ways to do that. But before I start that, I do want to do one last thing before I start showing examples. And I do want to say, a lot of times, especially in a lot of the big groups, you hear people talking about how they just cannot figure out how to get their videos to go viral. And I want to talk for a second about the downside of going viral, because Viral, yes, that in our mind we go, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a ton of sales. More often than not, a viral video does not turn into sales, especially since it normally takes around 7 times of someone being in the right mood, seeing your book before they buy it. 1 or 2 viral videos, the chances of them even being seen by the same people are very, very slim. So, and it's not the best for building a community, because more often than not, the video that goes viral for you is not about your book. You will see authors complaining all the time that viral videos, more often than not for them, are the like random off the wall thing that they did that had nothing to do with their book, nothing to do with any of that. And suddenly they have all these new followers and all of these people who really are not their target audience. And that makes it really hard. And also, if you go viral, more often than not, that ends up dragging you into a lot of negative comments. It's seen by a lot of people. TikTok or any social media will push you outside of your little niche algorithm that you've created. And you're a lot more likely to get hater comments. You're a lot more likely to get things that you don't really want that make social media negative and hard. And avoiding negativity is such a really important part to try and deal with. While negativity gives you views, negativity also has a very bad habit of backfiring. There are plenty of, I will not name any names, but there are plenty of authors that have made mistakes in the past. And even though it's years ago, it's still drug up over and over and over again, just randomly whenever they try to do something. So it can be difficult dealing with that. But then at the same time, dealing with the negativity, like kind of one way to look at it, when you're attracting an audience that likes tearing someone down, imagine what that's going to do to your reviews on your book. Imagine the kind of reviews that those readers are going to be giving you compared to building a positive community and a positive audience. It's a night and day difference on what you're going to get out of it. So just a couple things I kind of want to start with, because really they're so important for building a good base for your audience. But let's talk a little bit about how to use tropes. And I'm going to show some examples of some videos. I know for the podcast, I know you won't be able to hear the sound, but I'll kind of explain what's going on. And I'm going to show a lot of visuals of different type of book talk accounts and some videos and stuff to kind of help get some ideas. Because like I said, the whole trick is unique, but marketable. So we're going to start with this one. This is a massive account. She is absolutely adorable. I seriously love her. Oh, I got to share my screen. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I forget. There we go. Okay. Now you can actually see her. There she is. So she is kind of adorable, honestly. And if you look at her, this is actually a book talker who in July gutted her entire TikTok and decided to start fresh. And it's because she realized that the stuff that she liked watching and the stuff that she liked reading was cozy fantasy. And especially since that's a big up and coming genre right now, while there's been lots of books that are cozy fantasy, like Howl's Moving Castle and Redwall and that kind of thing, really only in the last year or so has the genre actually had a name and an acknowledgement. So yeah, she kind of realized that's what she liked. In July, she completely gutted her account and started all over. And initially, when I looked at it, I personally, as you can tell from behind me, I live in a very small house. I do not have the space or even the mental capacity to be able to handle doing an aesthetic type of account that has this much going on. But if you have the time and the energy, it's really kind of fun and it's cool. I won't be able to pull up the video because I'm on my computer. But if you go and you look at her, what's it called? Her pinned ones, she actually has one that shows in July when she set up this background and it just sits in her living room. And at first I was like, man, there's so much work. But then I realized when I watched all of her videos that she does that's not in front of this aesthetic, this is just how she dresses every day. Like, I was like, that's actually normal clothes. And she's super adorable. But she does, for example, this video, my people on TikTok will be able to hear the sound and I'll kind of let you guys know what the sound is. This is literally a book review for her. she's so smart where she does about half and half of some of her book reviews are her actually talking. And this is something a lot of the biggest book talk accounts are doing, is they will do reviews and about 50% of them are them actually talking about the book. And the other 50% are taking sounds that have tropes or behaviors that are similar to the vibes of the book or things that happen in the book. And they literally will just do that sound as the book review for the book. Using trending sounds and just using sounds is such a big way to be able to get traction and to like make yourself stand out. So get this for a second. Yeah, it would help. I'm not muting things too. Sorry. Scoochie back. So you can see down here what the sound's saying. So it says, you're going to suffer, but you're going to happy about it. Be happy about it. And this right now is a very big sound on TikTok. But she's one of the only people who has taken this sound and twisted it bookish. It's starting to pick up on book talk, but it's so smart because think of how many books there are out there that are about like have horrible things happen to the characters or like horrible things that just happen in general. But you're kind of okay suffering through those things because you love the book. The book wouldn't be as rewarding if you didn't do that. So I want to look at her actual account as well, just so you can kind of see a little bit of what she is doing, because she's doing so much that's right. I mean, first off, just over 65,000 followers for a book talk account. There are very few book talk accounts that are over like 15,000. There's very, very few. So it tells you she's doing a lot right. And if you look, her view counts, again, when we think about going viral, a lot of times we're like expecting something massive. Really though, TikTok for our followers, it shares it with such a small percentage of your actual followers. It's less than half are actually being shown to your followers, and the rest are being pushed out to the FYP, and that exact percentage changes all the time. But so she has 65,000 followers. Look at how many views, what that percentage, even if those were all her followers, look at how low that percentage is of people who are actually seeing it. Like if this was 10%, that would be 6,000 people seeing it. So like this, so this is Ever After one. That's what, like 2%, less than 2% of her followers would have been seeing this if those were all her followers. I think a lot of times when we have really small accounts, yeah, her handle is Meg's Tea Room, but it's something that I think a lot of times when we have smaller accounts, we feel really down when we're stopped at 200 views. We're stopped at 200, 400 views, but really think of it a little bit differently. If you were somewhere set up with a booth and you had 200 people actually show up and come and talk to you and like looked at your books, how excited would you feel? And then how excited would you feel if you had even 10 to 30 of them who stopped and actually like engaged with you? Think of those as like your likes. And a lot of times when you set up somewhere, even at book places, you don't always actually sell a bunch of books. As much as we would love to, you don't. But a lot of times people will take things away. They'll remember the book, they'll come back and they'll pick up stuff later. So it's kind of hard. It's frustrating sometimes when you get stuck in the lower counts of videos, but over time, as people see you more and more often and they are engaging with you more often, those views will go up as long as you're trying to engage and entertain and educate, which this is kind of showing a little bit. You're educating is literally doing the tropes. You're sharing the tropes that are in your books or that you like to write or that you like to read. If you stick with the tropes of like how you function or what is in the worlds that you create, and they don't have to be done in a bookish way. I'll show how to do that in a minute, but it lets you kind of be outside the box and connect with your audience in a completely different way. But she is amazing because she stays very positive all the time. And like I said, she still has this whole aesthetic, but she's very chill. And she just talks about what she wants, but she stays within the fantasy realm for the most part. She's decided that she loves cozy fantasy. So she talks all things cozy fantasy. And every once in a while, she talks about her own personal life and that kind of thing. But she really does think outside the box with this. So this is a really good account that I suggest going into, like, digging into a little bit, taking a look. So again, her name is Meg's Tea Room. She's a really, really good one to follow.
I have a question, Jamie.
Yeah.
On these kinds of accounts, now I review some books too on mine, not really review them. I just do little commercials for them. You know, when my friends come out with books, I just do a little commercial. But what I want to ask is, if you get into actually like reviewing the book, do all your reviews need to be positive? Or does that seem disingenuous if everything on your channel is positive? You don't have a single review of a book you didn't care for.
It's harder if you're just doing a book account. Doing negative reviews is fine. I personally, because of my author side, even if I'm leaving an actual review somewhere, I won't leave reviews for books that for me are below a 3-star. Just because I don't want to start any beef with another author. It is not worth my brand or even my time and energy to potentially, like, actually within the last 24 hours, there has been all sorts of drama on TikTok because an author did a very long review, very, very long 1-star review on another author's book. And it has been getting blasted everywhere. So yeah, I always suggest, like, I personally, my rule is if it's below 3 stars, and for me, a 3 stars is I finished the book, I enjoyed it, I just probably won't reread it. Like, I would still suggest it, but I have a very small house, so I'm probably not going to buy a physical copy, not going to worry about any of that. But yeah, if it's below a 3-star, I won't do reviews anywhere.
Okay, thank you. I agree with that. I just wanted to hear, because you have such good marketing sense. So thank you.
Definitely, it's all about protecting the brand. Whoops. So I accidentally popped out of that. Screen share again. And so this is another account that I adore. She does a lot of, so again, she's 43,000. She's just a bookish one. It's kind of the hard thing is a lot of times we don't know what to do. Yeah, you saw the review as well. And it literally was an essay. So I have someone was commenting, they saw the review. I mean, I think they said it was like a 1,500 word plus 1-star review on another author's book. It was so bad. But yeah, one big thing is a great way to be able to connect with your audience is by reviewing books. And it doesn't have to be a book that you just finished. You're able to redo reviews over and over again. Think about how many times you see accounts that are obsessed with ACOTAR or obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and they kind of repurpose and reuse the same type of content. If you have books that are your comps, talk about them over and over again. Especially if you're a newer author and you don't have a big following, talk about those comps over and over again, just in different ways. Make jokes about them, especially if those are comps that people are going to actually recognize. And then I do a combination of those and books that, like, nobody's heard of. I try to keep a pretty good mix up, because normally if it's a book that people have heard of, it's more likely to get bigger reviews, but I like to do a mix with smaller ones as well. It definitely helps. This is an author that, again, you kind of tell she has like this whole vibe. For hers is a little bit more relaxed. But her book reviews are genius. She was one of the first people that I saw, which, again, look at the ratios. We see these and we go, oh my goodness, she's got, around like 1,000, on average 1,000 to 2,000 views, which, by the way, then you see random ones like this where it's like 200,000. Kind of crazy how you get these random jumps. But when you consider 1,000 views to 2,000 views on 43,000 followers, so comps are books that your readers will also want to like, that they would be coming from. So for example, a lot of times like Zodiac Academy, you'll hear people say, yeah, you'll hear people say that like it's like Harry Potter but spicy with shifters. Like those are your comps when it's something that other authors, other readers are able to kind of connect and go, they're like this one. Like you hear all the time, anytime it's a fae romance that's fantasy, you'll pretty much always hear someone say this is like ACOTAR. Like if you like ACOTAR, you'll like this. Yeah. So this is someone I really enjoy watching for her book reviews because she thinks outside of the box. She almost never sits down and just talks about a book review, but then she also does a great job of doing the talking about tropes. So like, for example, this one is 200,000 views. Okay, so we're gonna pull it up. So you can see what the sound is saying is that this one, she's technically doing a example, a comp that goes with this trope. So it's kind of like this book is part of that, but she's connecting with the audience. She's connecting with them on what they're using the sound with a common trope. And honestly, I have found that most sounds that blow up really big can be twisted in a bookish way somehow. Not always for a specific book, but they can normally be twisted in one way or another if you get creative enough. And they're not always for something that you can do, but it still helps a lot. So yeah, this is an account. I'm not going to dig too much into her stuff, but for thinking outside the box for how to do reviews, especially on your own things, because these are really good ways that are hooky. Because another author superpower is that we learn how to get really good at hooks, partially because we know how important that first line is, and not just the first line of our book, but the first line of the next chapter, the last line of that chapter. We know how important those hooks are to keep a reader going from thing to thing to thing. And if you take that and you use that here, it gives you that same sort of thing. And I'll say, TikTok is like Amazon, where you're used to the doom scrolling. It's part of why you'll hear cover designers and anyone who really does much about book marketing, they talk about how it's so important to have a really strong cover, because most people who are looking for a book, they're doom scrolling on Amazon after searching for something, and or within their algorithm on Amazon for books. And that thumbnail has like half a second to catch their interest before they're already past it. And that's what your hook has to do. Go ahead.
When you say doom scrolling, what precisely does that mean? Looking for some bad news? Or
doom scrolling is when you're kind of like looking at the screen of something. It could be social media, it could be anything, and you just keep scrolling. You're not actually stopping. You just keep going until something catches your interest. And
Gotcha.
TikTok is kind of notorious for trapping people doom scrolling for like hours. That's actually one of the TikTok tropes. That's kind of a joke sort of thing, is that authors are supposed to be writing and they end up spending hours doom scrolling on TikTok and don't even realize that the time passed. So very, very common one from us. I fully admit I am guilty of that myself quite often, way more than I would like to admit. Okay. So another account that I think is a really, really good one to look at. I'm going to show this video first. This is one of the largest ones. He is actually an author as well as a book talker, and he is really, yeah, you're guilty of doom scrolling as well, right? So it's really important to connect with your readers on more ways than one. And he is so smart about this, because while he's an author, the majority of his content is about connecting with his readers. And he talks about books, he talks about TV shows, he talks about movies, he talks about things in his life that are connected trope-wise or have similar vibes, like, and hobbies that your audience are also doing. So I'm going to show this first. So again, cozy fantasy, like I said, it's getting really, really big right now. This was this is a current recover for the UK hardback for Legends and Lattes, which is a super adorable book. If you've not read it, highly suggest reading it. It is so good. But and I'll pause. It's a little bit long, and since I know the actual podcast will not be able to hear the sound, I'll explain a little bit of it as it goes. But turn off my mute. So he first shows this new cover, and he's holding up the Legends and Lattes original cover, which is absolutely gorgeous. It is like on point in every single trope for this genre. And he's sitting here telling himself, like, I don't need the new one. No, I don't need the new one. But he really is, he's going to get the new one because
I'm still seeing Ray in Wonderland.
Oh, it didn't close out. Well, let's fix that then.
Didn't change.
We will fix that. Sorry about that. Normally it lets me jump between them, but apparently today it is not going to. So we'll do that. So I'll share the two covers again, just really quick. That way you can see
guy.
it.
I've seen that guy.
Yes, he is big all over everything for good reason, honestly. But yeah, so he's talking, like I said, he shows both covers. He does this as a stitch, which stitches and duets can do very, very, very well. As long as you're playing with them with tropes, with the author superpower, tropes and hooks and all that kind of stuff. He kept the stitch actually shorter than you can normally do, which is, again, was really, really smart because, like I said, most people, yes, Legends and Lattes. So most people, they will have gone ahead and scrolled in less than 3 seconds. If they have not been hooked in one way or another. And you will see people all the time on TikTok go, I have this massive list of hooks you can use at the beginning of your videos. By the time someone has actually put together a list, almost always those hooks people are kind of bored of. TikTok is already over them and they've moved past. So it's way smarter to become creative. It's way smarter to kind of think a little bit outside of the box. And again, use the tropes for them. I know this can sound hard, but it's why I'm sharing these accounts specifically so that you can get when you get a chance, you can go take a look at the accounts, because all of these are ones that are really, really good at using hooks. And most of these are people who don't even realize they're creating their own hooks. Most of these people don't even realize that they're like, why this is working out the way it is. But his account is one I want to share because, like I said, he's an author as well. So, okay, he has over 500,000 followers. Okay, he's if not the biggest book talker, he is one of the biggest. So his own books that he writes are like a fantasy, almost, I don't want to say quite middle grade, but I think he technically lists them as middle grade, but almost like a D&D type vibes. So I also connect a lot with the D&D audience. Do I play D&D? I wish I could play D&D. I have a 3-year-old who will not let me do anything alone, and I do not have people to play with. But he connects with the D&D audience in that sort of way. And when you think about the hobbies of your target audience, if you write fantasy, especially if you write fantasy that is any sort of sword and sorcery, or that does really strong world building, or that deals with magic, that kind of stuff, the D&D community, the cosplay community, the gaming, like fantasy gaming community, all of those are literally hobbies of your target audience. And most people are not binge readers. Like, they don't read 20 books every month, like, and just keep going. Most people will suddenly get in the mood to read because they saw something that looked really good that they've been seeing over and over and over again, decide to read it. An awful lot of them will like binge read the entire series all at once. Sometimes they'll go to the other books by that author then, and then they disappear again. That's what most readers do. Most of your target audience are not part of the book talk community. And so am I saying go out and spam them? No. what I'm saying is engage with that community, engage with your audience, because that's really what you need to do. So he is very, very smart about this. So again, just as a little reminder, over 500,000 followers, and look at the numbers of actual watches. So just kind of, again, to keep in perspective. So we're not feeling quite so down on ourselves. He, though, he talks a lot about a lot of TV shows and movies. He's big about Disney. He talks a lot about Disney and book talk. And then he breaks that up with books that he reads. Sorry, I meant Doctor Who, not book talk. Talks a lot about Disney and Doctor Who, which is very smart for his audience, because his audience does an awful lot of, you know, when it's that kind of fantasy, those are their hobbies. He talks about pretty books. We all know kind of how that fits in with tropes. And he's very, very personable and open. One big thing, I won't play another one for showing it, just because I know it's kind of hard to hear, but one big thing about all of these that you will notice if you go look at them, they are not putting on a show. That is a big mistake that I see a lot of new authors do when they're trying to do their accounts. They feel like they're supposed to be putting on a show for people want to come watch. And really, what TikTok is about connecting. So the way that they discuss, the way that they talk, a part of why so many of their hooks work is because they're focusing on connecting with you as you're scrolling by, so that you feel like you are being talked to instead of being talked at. Does that make sense? It was a little hard sometimes to figure out, but he also, I love that he actually takes the time as well. He has this running joke about how things, like all these things, scare him. And so he will stop all these random, or like the random hobbies that he has. So yeah, he's another account that's really, really smart to go watch. And it was interesting because I think I followed him for 6 months before I realized he was an author. But I was already so invested in my content with him. As soon as I found out he was an author, I immediately went to go look at all of his books, because he built that community. He built that connection with me before I knew he was an author, which, again, sometimes, you know, our focus is getting the sales now, but that tends to not work so well. So another one, screen share. So a lot of my audience is fantasy based. So I found a lot of videos that do really, really well for me are duets that are dealing with tropes that my audience enjoys, that is not from book talk. And sometimes just a running joke that book talk has works really well. So for example, this video I'm about to show you, and you can kind of get the vibes from just watching it, and I'll explain it a little bit for anyone who's only listening, but this is actually from D&D talk, nothing to do with books. But if you watch it, you'll go, oh yeah, that is exactly what book talk jokes about all the time. And this guy is hilarious too. I do a lot of his stuff actually, just because it's so relatable. Oops, sound. Go up. Sorry. You would think I would be more with it. So one of the most, you duetted. Yes, she duetted this video as well. It's funny because book talk, so this whole running joke in this one is, you know, the D&D person running it is like, this is me introducing the most unredeemable villain I have ever written. And everyone who is playing with him, they all are trying to seduce this villain. I was actually considering duetting another one of his that I just saw that he just posted. This really funny because he was talking about how he's doing this moment, and he's talking to this player, and he was like, I'm sorry, you never figured out who the vampire in the room was. And his players created this like really outside the box way of like doing a goodbye handshake to the barkeep and to test to see if they were a vampire. And he was like, even though that guy was not the vampire, now he's going to be the vampire. And it made me think of one, that's just how I write all the time. And I really wish I had a vampire book. I have a vampire book that I could have shared, but I only beta read it. So like it's not for sale anywhere yet. But like if I had a vampire book, especially a fantasy vampire book, I would have absolutely duetted that with a comparison of, you know, this made me think of da 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 kind of thing. Yeah, he cracks me up. But duets that are like this, that are connecting with your target audience and like their hobbies and the tropes of your target audience, is a really good way. And these are super easy to do. I am someone that I have a lot of drafts. And most of the time I have a ton of drafts because when I'm randomly scrolling, I am almost always an absolute hot mess. And if I hear a sound that I'm like, ooh, I could see how that could be bookish, or I see a duet or a stitch that I want to do, I'll record 3 to 5 seconds of just whatever. And then I'll add text for what I want to do with that video. And I save it in my drafts. And I wait until a day when I'm actually feeling a little bit more energetic. Check it. Yes. I call myself the hot mess book mama. Like that's that's my vibes all the time. So yeah, I'll wait, and like once every week or two, I'll go ahead and sit down and pull myself together a little bit. But as you can tell, I still like, I'm all about filters. I don't have any problems with, I am who I am. But yeah, I'll sit down and I'll just go ahead and do all of them. So then suddenly I have a whole bunch of drafts sitting there waiting for me to upload whenever I'm not up for doing something. So I don't record something daily. And most people who do TikTok, they don't record something daily. And I feel like a lot of times we feel like we have to, but we really, really don't. Yeah, most people have a ton of drafts. And who was it? One of the really large book talkers, the woman with purple hair that just got a big deal with, oh my goodness, one of her books just got picked up by a trad, and she's a spicy author. But she was really funny because she's like, I have like over 100 drafts just waiting for me to go. I'm like, yeah, I can see that, because I normally have at least 30 or 40 just sitting there waiting for me to use, because I save things with notes and then I just batch make them, and it makes this so much easier. So yeah, think about the hobbies of your target audience and then look for videos in that. I want to show, this one might let me, let's see if this will let me do it. Let's move this up. Nope, you're not gonna let me move that up. Okay, so TikTok has started doing SEO. And I want to talk about that with this when I'm talking about like connecting with your audience on tropes. SEO is basically how, it's really how Google works, where there's keywords that are being used. And this is what hashtags are really for. But SEO also starts picking up the words that you're using in your videos. So something that's really smart to do is when you're trying to figure out what hashtags to use, one, make them specific to your video for your audience. So, for example, except I write fantasy, I think about the hobbies of what my people are going to do. So if you do a search for anything that deals with your hobbies, with your audience, any tropes that you write, if you do a search, so let's say enemies to lovers, suddenly it's going to show you the most frequently like searched things up here. These are words that you can say in your videos that will help it get picked up by the SEO, that'll help it be able to get out to the right audience. A really great place to learn about how to do this kind of thing. This last one just ended, but I definitely suggest joining the Facebook group so you can do it when it happens again. Brian Cohen, he's on TikTok as well, BryanCohen. He does a free Amazon ads course every 3 months. And part of what he talks about is how to create elevator pitches, basically, that you can use for Amazon ads, which also work great for TikTok videos, and how to find keywords that connect you with the right readers. And so I actually use almost everything that I learned in that for my Amazon ads, I use in my TikTok videos for knowing what hashtags to use, what type of, like I said, the elevator pitches. TikTok videos, people lose attention very, very quickly. Most of the time, if a video is more than 7 to 10 seconds long, people have scrolled past. They haven't made it to the end. And so you figuring out ways that you could do the little elevator pitches is really, really helpful. I'll show a couple things with that in a second, but this is a really good way to start to figure out your hashtags or key phrases that you might want to say in a video if you're making something that is intentionally marketing. But again, you don't want to seem spammy. So that's why I like looking at book talk accounts instead of author accounts, because no offense, but most authors kind of do it wrong. Most authors do a really good job of connecting with other authors, but they're not the best at connecting with their readers on a reader level, because most people don't want to be sold to, honestly. So this is another account that I adore, and she is super smart, because one of the biggest things for getting seen on TikTok is that you need to be consistent, but that doesn't mean that you have to make the same content over and over and over again. I have like 3 to 4 types of things that I make, and I rotate through them. And so it lets me have some variety, but at the same time, TikTok knows what to do with me. So a lot of times something that will work for you, it's going to take TikTok a few days and a few times of you doing it before they know, oh, she's actually serious about this. I'm going to keep pushing it. So this one, Sky Reads, she actually has a better conversion rate than most. And that's because she does a really great job at doing a call to action in all of her videos. And sometimes it's hard to figure out how to do a call to action to readers that's not buy my book, that's not, that kind of thing. So this is a really great account to go look at for ideas for that. And you'll kind of see it's very, very visible. When I scroll down, very visible to see the pattern that she does. She's also a really good one to look at for someone who markets. She's like promoting all of these books and book vibes without using her face most of the time. She only shows her face once to twice a week, and she almost never talks. It's almost always just to music using the tropes. But once a week, she does a day where she does these aesthetic videos, which are really smart the way she does them. Most of these are either things that she has recorded on her phone combined with deposit photos, stock photos. These are all deposit photos, stock photos. Like, I recognize them. She might be pulling them from somewhere else, but it would be kind of silly for her to do that, because deposit photos, if you keep an eye on AppSumo, every 6 months or so, they do a big sale to where you can get a big package of photos that never expire for 29 cents. So she does 6 of these once a week. And part of what I like about them is that sometimes it's just for a vibe. Sometimes, let me go back. Sometimes it's just a vibe, but these are a really great way to connect readers with your books and to do a book review type thing. And if you use an app like CapCut, which is a free app, I use it mostly on my phone because the phone version has a lot of options that you don't see anywhere else. There's actually templates that are already made for this kind of stuff, where it will say add a video, add so many pictures, and it will just go ahead and throw it all together for you with all the transitions, all of the work. And I actually use it to animate still stock images all the time. I won't go into the legality of why I use deposit photos. I have lots of that on my account on TikTok, and like that would be a whole nother thing. But I definitely highly suggest not going onto Pinterest. Yes, vibe videos for book reviews. It's such a great way to do it. To do vibe videos for book reviews of your own book, of other people's books. It helps them be able to connect the two. Vibe videos go over very, very well. And so that's really what she does. She kind of sometimes it's just, like I said, sometimes it's just a vibe. Sometimes she picks a book and she will break it down into 6 different things. Like, for example, one of my books, World Walker, I have elves, I have dwarves, I have magicians, like I have different races. And something that I do occasionally is I'll break down all of those different things, and I'll do a different like mood video for each of those. Do the whole, if this shows up on your FYP, then like this is video something of this many, then you're part of this. And at the end, I talk about, like, I'll share my book. Like, I do a connection of, this is the world, this is where you would fit into the world according to the TikTok FYP. If you're interested, check it out. You get those work really, really well without being pushy. And especially if you're doing that same kind of thing for actual book reviews of other books as well. Because again, if you're just talking about your book, your audience will get bored and kind of start to move on. So talk about your comps as well. Talk about what you're currently doing. But yeah, so she, like I said, you can kind of see through her week. She's done 2 videos of herself in this last week. Neither one of her actually talking though. And you could tell they were made on the same day. And she's using filters for both, which I kind of love. But all the rest of these are made out of stock videos, stock photos. Most of them look like they've probably been thrown into CapCut. And yet she's using tropes to connect with people. And look how well this is working. How well this is working, especially in one day. Imagine if in one day, when she's got 115,000 followers and she's doing that kind of thing, and yet she had 2 videos this week just from the set of 6 that was seen by more than her follower count. That says a lot about how these work and how it connects. This is honestly, it's funny because I feel like she's a very underrated account. And mixing in bits about your personal life, if you feel comfortable with it, is really a good idea because it lets your people connect with you. So even though they'll get less views, your diehard fans will really like to see it. So like, for example, this one is just her with her pups. Very chill. But if I clicked on it, you'd see that it actually has a ton of engagement that is more personal. But then at the same time, if you really think about it, her account, all of the stuff that she talks about are like fairy tales and fae and like very outdoorsy fantasy type things, and just spending outside in a very like relaxed kind of vibe with her happy pups is technically still part of that vibe. It's still part of the tropes of her audience. So like I said, very smart. But I find her account very fascinating just because she's a really good account to look at if you do not want to show your face a lot. And if you want something that you can pre-make and put up whenever you need to. Ooh, another one. I was going to share this. I do, I'm trying to think. I have them, but I think they're on my Facebook right now. I will spend like 20 or 30 minutes every couple of months, and I'll put a bunch of books just randomly up somewhere. I'll create like a little, this account is, let me scroll back up. Sky Reads. But it's really a good idea to keep some videos that are just blank, that you have made their kind of aesthetic, that you can throw other things onto. So a lot of times you'll see page flip videos where you're like, wow, this looks really familiar. That's because the person has recorded it on their phone. And so all they have to do is take a couple seconds to take a sound and add either a hooky quote from their book or add the tropes, whenever you're doing something that focuses on trying to connect people to your world, you're going to want to do it from the character point of view. If you think about it, when you're talking about blurbs and when you are thinking about the beginning of your book, you have to create an emotional connection between your reader and your characters before you really are introducing the world, because they're not going to care about the world. They're not going to care about the big event. It's not going to hit in the same way if they're not emotionally connected, or at least in some way invested with the characters and how they're part of that. And so that's definitely something to think about when you're doing these, is if you're going to choose quotes, do ones that are character based instead of world based. If you're going to do think about like the behaviors of your characters. They have personalities. Think about what the tropes of that specific character is and find sounds that match that. It goes a very, very long ways when you actually think about the entire process, which again, it can feel overwhelming, but it will start to click, and your FYP will actually start to show you sounds and videos that already are doing that for you. So it's really good for helping with examples and just to not mess with it. So for, like I said, page flips is something that I keep in my phone that I can just upload at any time. Another thing that I keep are, she had one just down here, like filming of a bookstore aisle. If you try to go find stuff for like a library or something like that, almost all stock images and stock videos of actual libraries are they're copyrighted and they're not okay for commercial use. It's very, very frustrating as a cover designer. And all of the pretty libraries are protected with copyrights, especially all of the European ones. Same with a lot of castles and that kind of stuff. Almost all of those are protected to where you are not able to do them commercially. For example, fun fact, Paris, the Eiffel Tower, the light show at night is actually a copyrighted art show. So you can do like daytime stuff of the Eiffel Tower, but like as a cover designer, I can't use any nighttime images of the Eiffel Tower because it's a copyrighted art piece and you have to spend a lot of money to get those rights. Most European castles are also in the same sort of area. Like there's a lot of historic buildings and most pretty libraries tend to be historic and included in those copyrighted stuff. So having like a stock video of your, walking down a bookstore aisle or something like that is a really good one to keep on hand. And with that, I was going to share, should have it up here. Let me switch my screen share since it's being stubborn. One thing that I hear a lot about on TikTok, I probably pay way too much attention to what readers are complaining about and authors are complaining about, is that anytime, a lot of readers are complaining right now because people are putting up videos that are specifically for a book, but they don't ever say the name of the book. They don't show the cover of the book. And authors are arguing back like, yeah, but that's because TikTok is minimizing. They're making it so that if I put it up there, they won't show it to anybody. There's kind of a way around that I have found has not been hindering my views. First off, my opinion, this is just my opinion, is that it doesn't do me any good, especially when if I just try to comment the name of the book, TikTok is going to block it. Same thing if I try to leave a link, TikTok is going to block it. So I would rather have less views on a video that actually has my cover on it or something so that my people who see it can go get it. I get more purchases still going ahead and adding it in than if I leave it out and expect them to find it themselves or hope that TikTok shows them what I'm doing. Can reference Sandstor's TikTok and and have a partnership. It's true. So one thing I do is the stickers. I keep a image of, I always keep my covers images in my phone, always. That way I can do a video and it can be either a cheater one, like it could be anything, but most of the time, if it's my actual book, I will put up a sticker on the video and you can choose how long it's up. You could choose where it goes, the size. I add that somewhere in my video and it's almost always at the end. And a lot of times, like if I'll do like a teaser video or a review type video, a trope video for my one of my books, and I will put the sticker at the end. And like right now I have 2 books that I'm doing ARC copies for. So I'll like add text saying, ARC sign up is on my profile, or, check out the form on my profile, which, I should have pulled that up. Let me pull that up too. I want to talk about the links because again, another thing we hear a lot about on TikTok is we hear people talk about how the reader follow parties are so horrible. They have a time and a place. When you're an author using TikTok, you are specifically trying to make sales from it, right? And a big part of figuring out how to do that is that you need a way for your readers to be able to find you, and you need to be able to track where and how your readers are getting your book when you're getting those sales. So one thing that I do, instead of doing LinkedIn, I would get very frustrated before I initially joined Book Talk as a cover designer, because I saw that the cover design on Facebook was starting to die out, and I didn't have any books published yet. So I started as a cover designer, and I've run my business almost entirely off of TikTok at this point. And LinkedIn, for some people, when you go to click on it, TikTok will give a warning saying like, this is an unsafe place to go to. And it kind of scared me at first. And if you're using a LinkedIn or any third-party links page, you technically don't have a way to track how many people came through, what links they touched, any of that. So instead, on my own website, thank you, I fully admit, so if someone's saying they love the layout of my website, I fully admit I went on a hunt. I went to Moms Who Write. I went on the hunt, and I went to Elise Kova's website, and I went to Frost K's website and Casey Albond and a bunch of my favorite ones. And I took my favorite elements from all of theirs to put onto my own website. But yeah, so I created a links page just for my website. One, this gives me images that makes it a little bit easier. And I still keep it short. I keep it simple. And then for a lot of us, Linktree is having trouble loading as well. So I do a link page on my website, and it's great because, like I said, it lets me track. For example, when I have a release, or if I have a big sale on a book, I will run TikTok ads. And normally what I do is I test out videos that are my normal teaser type stuff. Oh, see, TikTok kept blocking it. It's crazy. Yeah, I started doing I'll test out videos, and if something is starting to pick up steam and I'm needing for it to be like advertising that I've got a new book that came out, or I've got a free book or a 99-cent book, I'll go ahead and pay for a TikTok ad. And there's a couple of things you have to be prepared for if you're going to try a TikTok ad. One, you have to expect your algorithm to suck for a couple of days after, because they want to convince you to pay more money. But I have found that it's worth it. For example, World Walker, I went ahead and I had a 5-day free thing for it so that ARC readers could get the book. And day 1, I just announced it. I didn't advertise it anywhere. I just announced it. Days 2 and 3, I did 2 TikTok ads, which again, like I said, they were just my normal content that started to pick up, that were teaser type videos. And then I did 2 days with Facebook ads. And TikTok ads, you can do at any price. TikTok ads, I think I spent, if I remember correctly, and like I said, I saved up for this because of the free days. I did $30 on TikTok and $30 on Facebook. So for those 5 days, I spent $60 total, but I've done as little as $5. And I've had pretty good results with that. But so $30 on TikTok with 2 videos ended up with over 2,000 free downloads. That's more than pretty much any of the paid newsletters that you can do for that kind of thing. Way more bang for your buck. My Facebook ads didn't perform as well, and I do good with Facebook ads. Mine are like 11 cents per click.
Did you, for your free book, did you change your target link that you have for your page to the book?
Nope. I kept it this same one. I just made sure that it was on it, but I kept it on here and just let people come and click it here.
Cool.
Yeah, it definitely helped a lot. And I will say, so TikTok ads, TikTok right now is if once you start to figure out good ways to connect with your audience, it is a good way to spend money on ads. I love Amazon because Amazon does a cost per click in a way that you only pay for the clicks. You don't pay for it just to be running. Facebook, I feel like I'm throwing money at it sometimes, even when I have cheap ones, because you'll have random days where you're getting almost no clicks, but it's still blowing through all your money. And TikTok, again, part of why I do the links is it let me track exactly how many clicks came from which TikTok video. Are the click ads better than the Kindle lock screen ads? It depends on your target audience, honestly. Not all genres are the best for Kindle lock screen. I have better luck with my dark fantasy romance and with my dark fantasy with the click ads with Amazon. But again, definitely suggest checking out Brian Cohen because his free course is amazing for all of that. And that's just from someone who is terrible about actually remembering to go and like check out the school stuff. I do the free one every time that pops up. You got this. She's saying that she's her genre is supernatural horror. She's got to learn all of this. Totally got this. I did want to say while I'm on my website, the podcast that we're currently recording is called Hello Vella. And so we talk a lot about how to market for Vella because Vella right now it's brand new. It is really, really hard to market for, but it is, I honestly don't know of anywhere else that is paying authors better than Vella. Like you're looking at somebody who at least gets $1,000 a month in just bonuses for reads from Kindle Vella. So something that I did as well, because a lot of the engagement that I see for Kindle Vella uses the LinkedIn links as well. And so something that I did instead is, again, I wanted to be able to track it. I wanted to be able to track what places were pulling to my Vellas and how they were getting there. So I created a books page on here. Yeah, bonuses are not consistent. It can be disheartening, but it is paying for all of my books at this point. So for example, like all of my books, I am publishing in the green. Like I'm paying for my editor, my cover, everything, and I'm having a marketing budget. But and I don't pay for ads for Vella. Kindle Vella, I actually mostly use Facebook group engagement groups, but I don't do read for reads. I do just regular engagement, like the game kind of groups, and it helps. But what I did is I decided at the bottom of this, oh, really? You just ordered the paperback earlier today. Well, thank you. But, which by the way, tell you guys first, Goddess of the Broken, like this is a pretty cover. I made this cover myself, but I hired an illustrator who is in the process of redoing this cover because I wrote it for the cover, and the book is much more romance than I was expecting it to turn out to be. It is by far the best thing I've written so far. It is so good. But yeah, so this cover, before it releases, this book releases November 15th. And this is getting a fully illustrated dark fantasy romance cover. And I would say that like the art quality of it is like Elise Kova quality. I am so excited to get this. So yeah, you guys get to find that out before my regular readers get to. Yes, one of my beta readers for Goddess of the Broken. She's like, yes, you need to read it. But yeah, so I created a spot at the bottom for my Kindle Vella books specifically so that, again, I can put my link for my thing. So I can track where my reads are coming from Facebook, what reads are coming from TikTok. And it keeps it very, very simple. Oh, well, thank you. So I wanted to share a couple things that are going to make this a little bit easier. Sounds. I've talked a little bit about how you want to use sounds. Do you have to put the chapters out on Vella before you publish the book as a whole? Yes. With Vella, your book has to be up for 30 days before it will, it has to be like the last episode has to be up on Kindle Vella for 30 days before you can publish it. But I haven't had much of an issue with that. But yeah, so sounds, a big thing that I do is when I find a sound that works, I have a business account. So there's a lot of sounds I can't use, which this is a personal choice. One big thing for me is that sounds are copyrighted like I said, art is automatically copyrighted, just like our books. When we write them, they're copyrighted from the moment we start writing it, even without any extra filing. So I personally did a business account so that it would be much harder for me to use sounds that were not given commercial rights. So when I see a trending sound that I can actually use, but your algorithm will adjust to that if you decide to do that, there's a little circle down here at the bottom that you can click and it'll pull up the sound. And if it's not commercially available, it'll tell you right here. But I add things to favorites a lot. And if there's a sound, I agree. It's way smarter to use business accounts. But yeah, so I will save them. And if it's a sound that I'm like, okay, I want to use this, but I don't quite know how I'm going to do it, I will go ahead and I'll scroll through and I will watch the videos and see what is going on with them. One big thing that I like is a lot of times you'll see things going really big with yes, TikTok will shut your account down if you are using things that are not for commercial use for commercial use. So I do suggest all authors to be able to do that. As someone who had over 2,000 ARC readers for my first book that went out, while still being in that, and like it is possible to still get book sales and to still be able to do well with having a business one. It's hard. It's not worth it to me to restart my account. But yeah, so I highly suggest add to favorites for any sounds that you want to use, or sounds that make you think of your book or make you think of your characters, because you can reuse those and almost use those as part of your branding. That really, really helps. And then let me switch that one over. I also wanted to suggest, oh yeah, you've already got that. So that one is easy. Let me look really quick. I think I had one more thing I wanted to talk about, but my brain is forgetting. Have that one, this one. Sorry. But yeah, so kind of just do a quick little recap. So I could go into a lot more detail and a lot more examples, but it's really, really hard to, I don't want to keep going on forever on everybody. But if you were not here in the beginning, the biggest things to remember when it comes to doing TikTok as an author is to be consistent. TikTok literally will punish you for not posting daily, but that doesn't mean you have to be making content daily. It means that you need to be doing it little bit by little bit. And you could do it as a batch and just save things for later. Use your author superpowers. Use tropes. We'll figure out how to use tropes on your individual characters. Use it on the author habits, your target audience's hobbies and habits, book talk, the tropes of a book talker. Really kind of think about it in that sort of way, and then use your superpower for hooks, because hooks are going to be really, really important. TikTok, one of the transitions that I'm seeing them do right now is it used to be that your likes, yeah, it's true, you can repost the same video and you can repost the exact same video right after each other, and one, like, they won't perform the same way. It's kind of crazy. I always say that about with books as well. I mean, as you can tell, I have random ones that are just like, here's this, and I know exactly why they go viral, but I don't put in the time and energy to make all of them be that stuff. It's not worth it. Oh, the last thing I wanted to share, because again, we're on Hello Vella, I wanted to talk about Vella specifically for TikTok. I was talking a little bit about this earlier, but when you look up here and you do a search, you start to see a bunch of different type of options. I highly suggest going and looking and using them as some of your hashtags. If you have a book in Vella, if you have a book on Apple, you have a book on Nook, you have a book in Kindle Unlimited, use those hashtags, or at least say them verbally so the SEO can pick you up, so it gets you to the audience that does those. TikTok has been a make or break. A lot of them will be make or break moments. For example, there's a TikToker that I had helped kind of get their stuff up on Vella, and it sort of blew us away that they did like 2 videos on TikTok, and they they made like $3,000 their first month on Kindle Vella. I was a little bit jealous, but in a like happy way. But you know how I was talking about having things recorded. This is obviously something that they just had recorded. Backwards books are a great way to have a generic bookish background. Just basic little setup. They added a treading sound. They added tropes, little quotes, hooks. And then they added the tropes as their hashtags and talked about where to find it, how to find it, that kind of thing. This one was a newer Vella, and it blew up. It's still sitting up with crowns. And this is a video that I'm still seeing pop up on my FYP. And I don't normally talk about my Vella as much on my stuff because I've got 2 more books releasing this year that are kind of taking precedence. But this is a really good example of a clip that you could have just saved on your phone that you can reuse over and over and over again. That takes just a couple seconds, and it's not fancy. It's not Instagram worthy, which no offense to this person, but you know, Instagram is a lot fussier than TikTok. TikTok likes things a little gritty. TikTok likes things to be more personal and one-on-one and connecting. Same with like this stock video, which if you are going to do a ton of stock videos, stock photos, that kind of stuff, to do mood videos, a great resource is Envato, Envato. It's a subscription one. You can cancel it at any time, but for I think Adeline might remember better than me. I want to say it's like $14 a month, but you get unlimited videos, unlimited stock photos, fonts, sounds, everything you need to make your stuff. You get unlimited use of those. So again, this is just quotes that are hooky. They are focused on the tropes for the thing, the hook, and on the characters just being typed up on top of a stock photo. And then again, the tropes for the book are all up here. Most of the biggest ones that I'm seeing for Vella, and honestly for a lot of books, are the same sort of thing. And again, just a reminder, please don't go on to Pinterest and take random photos. This one, because they're all done by the same thing, I could tell these were custom made for this book. But taking stuff off of Pinterest is the same as someone taking an exact quote from your book and using it to market theirs. That's, you know, that is copyrighted stuff. So you have to be really, really careful with that. But again, stock video, the hooks, this is the same one from previously. This still performed amazingly well. All of these links. And this book is one of the top 100 on Kindle Vella, and it has been for a little bit. So those are kind of the basics. Like I said, I'm going to be on tonight with DC Gomez on TikTok Live at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you have extra questions, feel free to come and ask and we can chat and all that kind of thing. But this is kind of a good base to be able to start with on how to advertise on TikTok as an author without being spammy, and really just focusing on building a community, because it's worth it. It really is. Stay positive. Yeah. You're muted. Azriel, I think you're muted still. Let's see. See if Zoom will let you unmute.
I was just saying, you want to go ahead and stop the recording?
Yeah, I got you.